When you watch people who eat fast food, most problems like physical fighting or arguments are all in fast food restaurants. McDonald's, Burger King, Taco Bell. Correct.
Interesting. What about sugar? You mentioned sugar.
A lot of negative thoughts when you eat sugar. When you first eat sugar, the dopamines are great. You're the first 20 minutes, you're like, yeah, all right. But after 20 minutes or 30 minutes, you crash.
Hi, Chris. Welcome to the show.
Oh, thank you for having me. I appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for joining. I have to say, you're an entrepreneur, you're a self healing coach, you're the author of 3 books. But before I dive into any of that, you're 65 years old and you're looking better than most 20-year-olds. How is that possible?
I just got to self care, self love. You got to take care of yourself.
What does that mean, though?
You gotta watch. You gotta watch what you do. You gotta watch what you eat. You gotta make sure you get a good night's sleep. There's so many mathematics to growing old gracefully. And I pretty much have it down to a science now. The food, the exercise, now don't overtrain, the sleep, and just getting negative people out of your life.
We're going to talk about both of those things, not only the tactics that you said, the mathematics of living a healthy life, and also getting the negative people out. Before we dive into that, we all know what we need to do. The secrets of eating healthy, getting good sleep isn't a secret. Point is that some people like yourself can do it consistently and look amazing and feel healthy, and some can't, or most can't.
Right.
What do you think is the difference in between how you are built and you're able to carry out these things while others who are maybe struggling?
I believe that the ones that are struggling is because they're addicted to sugar, white flour, white rice, junk food. All those foods that I just mentioned, they all become an addiction because you can be addicted to sugar. You can be addicted to rice. People can't get off rice. Even if they want to, they couldn't get off of it. But there's different techniques that I know about rice, about pasta, that I'll share on the show that is beneficial to you. If you want to eat white rice, I know how you should do it.
Let's talk about it. How do we do that? Because for so many of us, without rice and pasta, life is meaningless.
And you're right. So if you're going to eat white rice and you're going to eat pasta, the day that you cook it is not the day you're going to eat it. You put it in the refrigerator for a day. I'm going to tell you what happens. You reduce the carbohydrates in the rice and the pasta. If you keep it in the refrigerator for a day, I believe the percentage from my study, the percentage of lowering the carbohydrates is about 35% less carbohydrates if you eat it the next day, not the day that you cook it.
So essentially, you're eating the same volume of food, but calorically, you're consuming less.
Correct.
Interesting. What about sugar? You mentioned sugar.
Forget it. Sugar's bad for your brain. Let's go with that first, besides gaining weight and all the other stuff. But it's bad for your brain. A lot of negative thoughts when you eat sugar. When you first eat sugar, the dopamines are great. You're the first 20 minutes, you're like, yeah, all right. But after 20 minutes or 30 minutes, you crash. You get that sugar crash. And what happens? The dopamines, they shut down. Now, over a long period of time of eating sugar, you can't activate your dopamines anymore. They won't work. So I always advise people either cut back on your sugar intake or stop it completely. In my house, there's no sugar in my house at all. No cookies, no cakes, no sugar for your coffee, your tea, none at all. Not here.
What happens when you have a sugar craving, though? Because that's like a biological need, right?
It is. If you can get off sugar for 3 days, it's like almost like smoking cigarettes. You got it beat. You won't get that craving anymore. But if you eat sugar, you will get a craving like the next day or 2 days later. If I went to go eat a cookie now, probably in 1 or 2 days, I'll have a craving to eat another cookie. That's why I don't go near it. And that's why I'm in the shape that I'm in. And one of the reasons.
Do you do any artificial sugars or do you stay away from that as well?
Nah, if you're going to do artificial sugar, you might as well just do sugar because the artificial stuff is worse than the sugar. So no,
because it still causes that craving.
Yeah, I don't recommend it. No, I don't recommend it. Plus, sugar, it raises insulin. And then what happens later on in life? You get diabetes. So who wants all of this chaos? Why would you want to hurt your body when you can put food in your body that's going to be beneficial to you, to your mind, to your thinking, to your body, to your muscles? So I choose to eat healthy, eat the right stuff, and I won't run into those complications.
As simply as you lay it out, it's still so hard for some people to do because you said the word "I choose," and you even
Yes,
said the sentence. And if I went for a cookie today, I know in 2 days I want another cookie.
correct.
Where does this mental strength inside of you come from? Have you always been this way?
Yeah, yeah. I always been conscious. I'm gonna say probably for the last 40 years, I've been conscious of all the health, and I'll tell you why. Because I see people going down. I see how they eat. I see how much weight they gain. I see how they think mentally. A lot of negativity from the foods. So I knew that's not the path for me. I've been in fitness, healthy, I'm a mentor. I'm a leader since I'm 25 years old. I've been leading people. I was big with unions in New York, put a lot of people to work. A lot of people talk to me about their personal problems, whether it's health, kids, wife, financial problems. So I always wanted to be that person. You need to talk to me? Come on, come talk to me. We'll close the talk. Come in my office. We'll talk. And that's what I do. I still do it now. I'm a coach.
So it's almost like the desire to be a leader for the community has caused you to not only take good care of yourself, but also make some sacrifices that allows you to be a role model.
Yes. See, I want to say at 65 years old, I'm part of a movement. And being part of a movement, it comes with everything: the fitness, the food, integrity. My experience and wisdom can help the young people, or even people my age, can help them get off the couch. If you have a flaw, there's no excuses to why you can't exercise. As long as you got a flaw, you could do sit ups, push ups, you could do bends. You have a chair, you could do exercises with a chair. So there's no excuses. If you want to be that person sitting on the couch, you want to eat popcorn, potato chips, you want to drink beer all day, or you want to drink Gatorade, thinking that if I'm drinking Gatorade, I'm going to be healthy. That's the wrong picture, bro. That's the wrong picture.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
That ain't gonna work.
yeah, it's fascinating, right? Because how we feel physically also feeds into how we think and feel mentally. And when I'm
Correct.
speaking to you, I'm not just looking at someone who is fit, but I'm also looking at someone who's mentally clear and happy and strong and resilient. And when we look at the world today, there is such a rising epidemic of depression, right? And mindset issues. Do you think these are connected? Is fitness the way to get over it? What
Yeah.
do you have for others who are struggling with?
I did a lot of surveys, and I want to enlighten you on this. When you watch people who eat fast food, most problems like physical fighting or arguments are all in fast food restaurants: McDonald's, Burger King, Taco Bell. I did the survey. 90% of a fight or confrontation is in a fast food restaurant. So if you want to be part of that, I know I don't want to be part of that. My world's about being kind, being peaceful, being your friend. There's an old saying: if you want a good friend, you got to be a good friend first. And that's my life. And I had good friends in my life come and go, and I have good people in my life now. The circle's a lot smaller, but that's my choice.
Looking back at your life, looking back even at my life, I at least myself have made endless mistakes, right? And when I
Yeah.
look back at my life, sometimes I cherry pick and I crazy painted a rosy picture, but sometimes it wasn't really, right? There was an older version of Mark. Until 2.5 years ago, I was very obese, right?
Right.
15 years ago, I was a different person, right? But series of events happened in my life to become who I am today. What are some of those pivotal moments in Chris's life that caused him to become who he is today? A leader of the community, a good friend, a teacher, a coach.
Okay, so that's a great question. And by the way, I did read your bio, and I got to commend you for the work that you put into it too. You're right on point, man. You got it. So I grew up in New York City. I come from a tough neighborhood in New York. So growing up, guys would get involved into drugs. Guys would get involved into drinking. Now, I had a best friend. I had a best friend. I loved the guy. The guy had a great heart. He was a great fighter. When he got into a fight, he was like the white Mike Tyson. He got involved into drugs, and he stepped on the wrong toes, and he wound up getting murdered. And I was 21 years old when that happened. That was the point of my life when I seen him laying in the coffin. I said, life's got to be better than this, man. Life's got to be better than this. And that started it. The other moment in my life and I wrote about it in my memoir. So he died at 21, and then 6 years later, I lost a sister who was like a second mother to me. She was my older sister. She used to put us to bed at night. My mother worked 2 jobs, feed us our breakfast, give us our dessert before bedtime, make sure that we took a bath or a shower. My sister dies, and that was hard. Both were difficult, but that one was hard because she was like my mother. And I got angry, and I started doing a lot of crazy shit until the day I got arrested, and that wasn't fun. And that changed my life. From that point, even told the guys, don't call me anymore, because we would go out on a weekend, go start fights in a different neighborhood, just ego shit, stupid stuff. And so at that point, after I got arrested, I changed my life completely.
What age were you then?
I was 27 years old.
Okay, so 6 years since your friend had passed.
Yeah, then I changed my life completely. I changed. I said, this
What
is
was that moment like? Because it's been 6 years since you saw your best friend in the coffin. You're thinking there's got to be more to life than this. But somehow, because of the unfortunate events that happens, you lose yourself. You get incarcerated. What was that pivotal, sobering moment that you realized that's it? Because you're walking away from relationships with some strong and powerful people. And for those of us who have been in bad circles, it's not easy to quit. It's like a bucket of crabs. It pulls you back in. How'd you
you're
do that?
100%. They always try to bring you back in. So I lost everything. I was at rock bottom. I lost all my money. I lost everything. Relationships. I just lost everything. Some family members supported me, and other family members, they talk shit about me, calling me names, not directly, but telling other people. It's okay. So I forgive everybody. Anybody who said anything about me in my life, I forgive you. I always will forgive you. There's a video on my YouTube channel about forgiveness. So yeah, I was rock bottom. And when you do hit rock bottom, and that's not from drugs or alcohol, it's just pain, suffering of what I went through. My heart was broke. So hitting rock bottom, I went to anger management. Went to anger management for 4 years. It was mandatory by the court. And boy, I love that lady today. I don't see her anymore, my counselor, but I love her today. I gave her a hard time for the first 2 months, but after 2 months, I couldn't wait to go. I was eager to go sit there and heal myself. And that's what I did. I healed myself. And that's why I'm here today to tell you my story. It wasn't easy. I have some good stories. I built the largest casino in the United States. I was a professional. I owned a construction company for 45 years. I worked for a company for 8 years. So yeah, I've always been a leader.
So this moment when you are with the counselor and you're coming out of anger, you're coming out of being incarcerated, you're having some type of realization that I got to change, but there's a part of you that's still fighting back. This healing process, what was that like? Was it just letting go of pent up anger? Was it just starting to think a different way? For those of us who are listening to this and struggling with it, what are some tidbits that you would give them that they could start working on it?
Good question. You got to start with self-love. You got to start loving yourself. In my life, I always put people before me. I always love you first. I will drop what I'm doing to go help you. Whatever the help was, I go help you. So the starting point is you got to help yourself. You got to self-care. So take care of yourself, and you have to love yourself. Look in the mirror. This is you. Be true to yourself and tell yourself that I love me. I love me. Because if you can't love me, you can't love anyone else. So you got to love yourself first. So that's where it starts. That's why the name of the book is Belonging to Yourself. I always belong to other people. I work for a company. I belong to that company. My friends, I belong to my friends. I never belonged to me. Now I belong to me first. So that's the starting point. You got to belong to yourself first.
There's so much power in it because, as the quote says, if you can't love yourself, you truly cannot love anyone else. So,
Absolutely.
to your point, it starts with self love and accepting ourselves as who we are. And then that's the first step.
Yeah, first step.
So, you go through this anger management process. You're a different person now. 4 years is a long time in a person's life.
Mhm.
You have come out of it. What's the first thing that you do to be able to build a new life?
Drop your ego. Put the ego aside. The ego will only get you in trouble. You got to put the ego aside. And in my life, I had a big ego before all that. My ego was like, forget it, skyrocket. You got to put the ego aside, okay? Because once the ego gets involved, now you got complications. Take your time, listen to people. Somebody's pissed off at you, think it over. Don't lash out. Things like somebody cut you off on the highway or the road. You know what? Why have road rage when you can have peace? Okay, go ahead. You cut me off. Just keep going. If not, if your ego's involved, you're gonna race up alongside of them. Who knows? They might fire a gun at you. They might cut you off. Stop the car. 5 guys or 2 guys could get out of a car. Why? You don't need that. See, that's the ego. So you got to take the ego, put it here.
Do you have any spiritual reason, support, anything that was also helping you through this process?
Oh, yeah.
Just tell us
Oh,
about
yeah.
that.
It's funny that you said that because I would drive my car during my working day. And if I saw a church, I pull over and run in the church and sit there for 10 minutes. Just sit there. Did the sign of the cross. I walked around. I saw the saints. I did that probably, I'm going to say for 5 years straight. I'm going to say I did it 5 days a week. Besides going to church on Sundays, I would go to church. Because when life pushes me to the ground, faith, it gives me my wings, is faith.
So, what's your personal life at this point? Because you talked about when you were incarcerated, coming out of it, you were alone, right?
Yes.
What is your personal life looking like? Are you starting to attract people? Are you starting to be like, I don't need anybody? What is that looking like?
No, I just leave people alone. I'm married. My wife and I, we're like bookends. We have so much in common. My wife won 2 championships competition, fitness. Just me and my wife. I have a Cane Corso, Italian Mastiff dog. He's about 140 in shape, like me. And it's just us. And I leave people alone. Periodically, I'll make a phone call. If they want to talk, they'll call me. And I talk to them. Simple talk. Unless there's complications, then I handle it my way, the complication.
But like at this point in your life back then, when you're in the 5 year period, you're building yourself up. Are you starting to attract people? Is that when you met your wife? What's the social life looking like at that point?
Oh, at that point back then, nah, people stayed away from me. I was focused on business. I
Mhm.
focused on being successful. And being successful doesn't mean that you have to have $10 million in the bank. Just being successful in my heart. And then I was successful. People couldn't believe the change in me. Some people didn't like the change. And then some people loved the change. See, so that's why you have a split country. You got half the country voting for Donald Trump and half the country voting for the other one, Harris. Same thing with people. You're going to have people that like you, and then you're going to have people who really don't like you. So when I made the change, some people didn't like my change, so they didn't bother with me, which was probably better for them and better for me. And the ones who did like my change, those are the people I kept in my life.
Why do you think they didn't like it? Was it jealousy?
They just wanted the old Chris. They were looking for the old Chris. They didn't like the new Chris. They wanted the old Chris. And I had a lot of respect. The old Chris had a lot of respect in the streets of New York. The new Chris decided the streets ain't for me no more. I don't want the street life.
So the journey of the new Chris starts now, right?
Yeah.
For those of us who are listening to this, who want to start our own business, sometimes things have happened in our past and we think we can't get past it. Here's a story of a guy who was on the streets, right? Fighting the fight, doing the thing, got incarcerated, got into trouble. But now you're building your own business. Walk us through what are some of the adversities you faced because some of your past, and then how did you overcome that to build one of the largest casinos in America and having such a successful company?
When I built that casino, I was working for a company who had the contract. My boss at the time, who actually is a good friend of mine today, he said to me, "You're going up to Connecticut, right?" I said, "Really?" He goes, "Yeah, pack your bags because you're not coming back." I said, "Oh, okay." So I wind up being up there for 7 years. I brought 30 guys from New York, and the rest of the people I hired were from Rhode Island and Connecticut. And so there was about 300, maybe 250, 300 employees who I supervised to help build that casino. Along with the casino, we also built them the museum. They wanted an Indian museum, so we built it for them also. And that started me, because after that project was over, that's when I opened my business. I said goodbye to the company. I was already prepped of how to be a boss, how to be a leader, and I opened up my own company. Well, that was the greatest time of my life when I was building that casino, because at that time, it was the old Chris wasn't around. You had the new Chris, where everything was understanding people, their dilemmas on the job, different situations. It was a big operation. Yeah, I'm grateful to have that part of my life that was amazing.
And then starting your business in construction, having been working in construction, especially such big projects, you felt like you had a leg up in terms of how to run things. What are some obstacles that you faced that you didn't think you would face?
Not getting paid, not getting paid. It was tough. When I opened my, people would just take a long time to pay you. Now, normally in my business, you get paid every 30 days. You put a requisition in, okay, they give you a payment, not in full for the whole entire job. They give you a payment. So that was difficult. And to this day, it's still difficult to get paid on time unless you run into a really good client that does pay you every 30 or 35 days, because that's the standard in the business. So in my business, I was putting requisition in to companies, to clients. They would just take their time from paying me. So that was the hardest part of the job, was getting paid the money that's owed to you.
How did you handle that? Paying employees and keeping up with expenses?
It was very stressful. It was very stressful, very stressful. How did I handle it? I tried to handle it as best as I could, with harmony, peace, understanding. And yeah, I surpassed it though. I got through it. I got through
Yeah.
all that.
Amazing. Let's go into a different part of your life now. There used to be a time when you wanted to be a professional baseball player. And while that didn't exactly work out the way you wanted to, you ended up coaching 3 champion teams
I did.
baseball. Tell us how that all worked out.
I was scouted by 2 professional baseball teams. My coach, Sherman, his name was, he enlightened me. They're going to be around for 2 weeks. They're going to be scouting me. I said, okay. Again, I come from a single family. My dad was doing his thing. So I really didn't have a male figure over me to coach me or to be tough on me. Go to bed. You got practice tomorrow morning. I didn't have that. So it's my responsibility why I didn't become a professional baseball player. So that didn't happen. For the same league that I played for, the president of the league came to me. We had a conversation. He said, Chris, we have to do away with the senior division. I said, why? You need the senior division. He goes, I know. He says, we don't have money. He says, and we don't have a coach. I said, oh, how much money do you need? He told me how much he needed. I said, okay, we're going to straighten that now. I wrote him a check right there on the spot. The guy started crying on the spot. His name was Bobby. I said, stop crying. You don't need to cry. Here's the money. Now you'll have a league. He goes, yeah, but I need players and I need a coach. I said, Bobby, you got to be kidding me. And he said, no, I'm not kidding you, Chris. He said, I want to represent Elm Jack. That was the name of the league. It was Elm Jack Little League. Now, these senior division guys, they're 17 to 20 years old. So I answered him and said, okay, you got the check. I'm going to coach the team. He said, really? Yeah. You need to get these kids off the street in our community. They got to be off the street, Bobby. So he goes, what about players? We'll find players. So I went to the nearest park in my neighborhood. All these kids, they knew me. I used to play basketball in the park. And I said, come here, I want to talk to all you guys. Must have been about 14, 15 guys. Like a long story short, I said, listen, anybody here played organized baseball? A couple of guys raised their hand. I did. When I was 12 years old, when I was 14 years old, I did. How would you guys like to play organized baseball with the elite players of all the boroughs? Brooklyn, Bronx, Manhattan. How would you like to compete? They said, wow, sounds really good. So I said, okay, whoever's interested, Saturday morning, meet me at Elm Jack Little League on the field, at the Babe Ruth field, which is the big field. Meet me there at 9 o'clock in the morning, Saturday morning. That Saturday morning came, I'm going to say guys showed up because they told their friends. Now 20 guys showed up. Now I knew all these 20 guys are not going to make the team. That I knew. So then I cut it down and we had practices and I said, there's going to be cuts every week. I'm going to be cutting people. So I cut down to about 14 guys, but I knew what I was lacking. I was lacking pitching. Out of the 42 guys could pitch. So what I did was I went to the Catholic high schools where they had the elite players. So I went to various different schools and I would scout myself pitching. And I was able to get 4 pitchers, solid pitchers, to join the team. What happened now with that was when they joined the team, their personalities clashed. The Catholic high school players clashed with the street guys, and I had to do something about it. So what did I do? I had barbecues. I had gatherings where they can have fun outside of baseball. And that's what they did. And then I saw the chemistry was getting good between them. The street guys would help the school guys. The school guys would help the street guys. So now I had a team. I had 8 players. And now we were ready to compete. And let me tell you, the practices, The grind that we did was why we won 3 championships back to back. It was the grind.
What an incredible story, right? So I have so many questions. Number one, going back to the check you gave to Bobby. Why did you do that? You didn't have to do that. What
You're
was the
right.
internal calling there that you wanted to do that?
I played for that league. I know how important that league is for the community. I played for them. I traveled with them when I was a player. I played elite baseball in Pennsylvania, Ohio. I played against the best. And not wanted these guys from the street. I wanted them to play the best that they can be. Today, those kids, they're all successful. They're all successful today, those kids. I actually got 3 or 4 of them into the union. They became carpenters. They became steam fitters in the union in New York. So they all became successful in their own way.
Even talking to Bobby about having to get the kids off the street, were you drawing upon your personal experience when you were on the street and realizing that we can't let them go through the same thing?
Percent. Because what happens when kids are on the street, 17 to 20, what are they going to do? Hang out in the park, get cases of beer, drink, smoke pot. What comes after pot? Who knows? Could be cocaine or something else. That was my mission. Get them off the street. And I did. Taught them leadership too. Taught them leadership.
And that was going to be the next thing. It's one thing to be able to hand a check. It's another thing to be able to gather a couple of players. It's another thing to now go and scout players, bring them together. They're fighting, organizing events to bring people together. You're just not creating a baseball team. You're creating a community of people who probably wouldn't have come together without you. That feel like
Amazing. I remember every time on trophy night, big auditorium, might be 200 people there, 20 people, I would cry. Every time I got up and made a speech, there was always a moment I would cry. And it was a happy cry, not a sad cry. Happy to see everyone happy, to see it. There's no interference with drugs with these kids. They really wanted to play baseball. They were focused to play baseball under me.
I meet incredible people like yourself from time to time, and almost always the humility is amazing because you don't think that you did something that great. But the reality of the fact is that change happens at a grassroots level, right? And
Yeah.
if everybody took the initiative to do something small or similar to anything that you did, we would have a very different community that we live in. If somebody is listening to this and wants to make that change, what are some things you would tell them to do so that they could possibly carry out and have a ripple effect like you did?
Before getting involved, make sure that this will be your passion before getting involved. Because if it's not your passion, don't get involved. It was my passion because I love baseball. I love baseball and I love the fact that I can maybe save a life from drugs. And I think it's possible that I did.
Absolutely. Especially to bring these people together so that they could mingle because everybody lives in a bubble and you are putting
For sure.
bubbles together and making the bubble bigger for people who don't belong together.
For sure, for sure. You got to have a passion for whatever you want to do in life. Have a passion for it. I have a passion to exercise, to lift. I have a passion to do high intensity interval training. I have a passion to eating healthy. That's my passion. So whatever your passion is and it's healthy, keep doing it.
Fast forward a couple years, you're a leader, you're a company owner, you have employees, you're physically fit. All of a sudden, you get diagnosed with hernia. What happened there? What was that diagnosis feel like?
I'm going to go back to the ego again. In my early 50s, right? I took steroids. I wanted to step up my game. I was always in great shape. I just wanted to get a little more size. Not much, just a little bit. So I did. I tried it. I tried testosterone, Anavar, drill. I tried it. I looked amazing. Percent, I looked amazing. Now that was the ego. See, the ego. I didn't put the ego aside. What happened when your ego lifting, you're in the gym, ego lifting is right, slamming the weights, making all this kind of noise. You're with a bunch of other guys all doing the same shit. I got a hernia. Why? I was bench pressing, I don't know, a little less than 400, I believe it was. I got it up 5 reps, by the way. So anyway, it was the ego lifting that caused the hernia. Go to a doctor. He looks at me. We got to set you up for surgery. I said, really? He said, yeah, you got to get a mesh. So I said, I'll get back to you. I never, because I said, I'm not getting surgery. I don't want a mesh in my body for the rest of my life, foreign object. I'm going to figure out a way how I'm going to heal from the hernia, which I did. I got the hernia 14 years ago. And do I still have a hernia? Yeah. Is it very tiny? Absolutely. Do I live a regular, normal life? Absolutely. So I chose not to have surgery. So my wife told me, write a book on the hernia. People get panicking right away. Oh my God, I got a hernia. Okay, that's drama. Forget, put the drama aside. If you don't want surgery, figure out how you can do it. If you don't want to figure out how to do it and you want to read my book, I'm the GOAT. I did it all. So my wisdom and experience, because I lived it, I pass it on to you now.
What are some of the things that you did to get started with this? Because for so many of us, when we go to a doctor and the doctor says something, it's like the word of God. Not many people have the confidence to be able to say, I'll get back to you. So, how did you tackle that?
Okay, so there are steps. The first step is acceptance. You got to tell yourself, I accept that I got a hernia. You have to accept it. Once you accept it, you got a positive mindset. And I'll give you a couple of steps that I wrote in the book. One step is I suggest you wear a hernia belt. It's called a truss, TRUSS. You wear a hernia belt. I'm going to say wear it for about 40 days straight. From the moment you wake up in the morning to the moment you go to bed at night before you take your shower, wear that belt all day. Because now you're training the affected area. Mine's an inguinal on my groin. So now you're actually training it that the hernia belongs inside, not outside the skin. So that's one of the first key steps to do is take Epsom salt baths. For 30 days straight, I was taking Epsom salt baths, warm or hot baths. What it does is it shrinks the size of the hernia. It relaxes it. So now you got the hernia belt pushing you in. You got the Epsom salt baths that are relaxing the area and it's reducing the inflammation because that's what it is. It's inflammation in the intestines that bulge through the 6 layers of your skin. So those are the 2 steps. I think, my book has 9 steps. Those are the first 2 steps that I did. Now, today, I don't wear a belt all day long. I don't take Epsom salt baths maybe once every 3 months now. I don't need to. Only time I wear a hernia belt is when I'm at the gym. And the reason for it, just for precautions. I'm not lifting heavy anymore. I'm lifting a lot of lightweight, a lot of reps, but I keep the hernia belt on just in case. And I think everybody else should do that. Put a hernia belt on. When you see guys at the gym, they got a belt on to support their back, don't they? Okay, so they're smart. If you have a hernia, put the hernia belt on while you're exercising, just for precautionary reasons.
Let's talk about your book, Natural Testosterone After 60. Because we live in a world where young men in their 20s, sometimes even 30s, have a testosterone level of 50 or 100. You alluded to it a little bit at the beginning of the conversation with the diet aspect of things and giving up on certain foods. But let's elaborate on that because testosterone is what makes a male. How do we keep that level up?
Okay, so how to keep it up and what the testosterone program, you got your do's and your don'ts. So let's go. I'll tell you a few things about the don'ts. One thing is sugar. Back to sugar again. Because sugar raises insulin, and when the insulin goes up, what else goes up? Estrogen. What are the 2 key blockers of testosterone? Production of testosterone is estrogen and insulin. So you got to stop the sugar. The third problem is cortisol is a stress hormone. If you are so stressed out, your body cannot produce testosterone. So you got to keep the stress down. I have remedies, programs that I did. I'm the GOAT. I did everything. I tried it all. I know what works and what doesn't work. So those are the don'ts, the sugar, the stress. You got to watch, see, estrogen. If guys are eating tofu, you got to stop eating tofu. Tofu raises estrogen. Estrogen is interference with testosterone. So certain foods you got to watch. And one of them is tofu. Another thing is, please, I ask your audience, do not drink or eat anything out of a plastic bag or plastic container. The toxins in the plastic will harm the hormones. Your hormones need to be balanced. So the toxins from plastic. Now, when you go to a supermarket, Mark, I go like this, I cringe. Everything's in plastic. Salad in a plastic bag, everything, all your sport drinks, even soda. I won't drink soda, but everything's in plastic. My generation, everything was in a bottle. Or when you bought fruits, it wasn't in a plastic bag. You hand pick your fruit yourself and put them in a paper bag. My generation didn't have plastic bags. We had paper bags. But today, because there's so many people, population is extravagant, everything's in plastic. And the toxins in plastic will harm your testosterone production. Also, pollution. Again, I mentioned the population. Pollution also interferes with your hormones, whether you're a woman or a man. Pollution. So you got plastic toxins. You got to watch certain foods you eat. You got to watch the sugar. One toxin that they don't talk about, and I'm going to mention it now, die. People get cremated. Did you know how many toxins there are in a dead body? So when you get cremated, what happens? All those toxins from your body, they go into the atmosphere. So besides pollution, now you got toxins from dead bodies. Because my generation, when you died, you got buried. This generation, you die, you get cremated. So this is not talked about very much, by the way. I met somebody a couple of months ago who enlightened me on this. And I did ask, can I spread the word? He says, absolutely. Go on every talk show you want, talk about it, because people don't know about this. We are breathing toxins from dead bodies. And what happens with toxins? We go back to the testosterone or the hormone imbalance. This is why it's so bad today that us guys at 30 years old, testosterone's going down. Why? All the things that I just mentioned. My testosterone, when I got tested, my testosterone was 81. Now, you got to be no less than 300 nanograms. If you're less than 300 nanograms, you have to do something about it. A man my age, 65, I should be between 300 and 450. My testosterone now is 700 because of all the protocols that I did, from natural supplements, eating the right healthy fats that I'm willing to share on this podcast. Yeah.
Let's talk about some of the natural supplements, because we talked a lot about the things that we shouldn't be doing.
Okay.
What are some of the things that we should be doing?
Okay. So then you want to talk about the supplements first, or you want to talk about food?
So whatever order you want to go.
Okay. To release stress, to help release stress, this is from India. It's called shalacha, all natural. It's been around, ancient. It's been around. Okay. It's all plant-based. That'll help reduce the stress. You have another one, and I'm sure you heard of it, ashwagandha. Okay. All to reduce stress. You don't need to get conventional medicine from a doctor because he's going to louse up your liver. He's going to louse up your kidneys. This is all safe stuff that I'm talking about. Okay. So those are two supplements to reduce the stress. Now, to increase testosterone or help increase it, here's another all-natural supplement called candidly. This is very popular now. Very popular because people like me are talking about it, whether it's on YouTube, medicals. Candidly is one of the best supplements to increase testosterone. Now, it goes hand in hand with Fandogia agrestis. If you can take candidly and mix it together with Fandogia, it's such a great blend to boost testosterone. Now, from statistics, that'll raise your testosterone probably around 2%. That'll raise your testosterone level. There are other ones. There's boron. Boron you can get in meat. I recommend grass-fed meat. I don't recommend regular meat. But you need boron. Boron will help increase the free testosterone. So you got boron in meat. You can buy a supplement. Yeah, I'll show you. And I don't get paid from none of these companies. It's a supplement. All my supplements, Mark, I take it 5 days a week. And I switch, I alternate them. I never take the same supplement 7 days a week. I always make sure there's 2 or 3 days off. I don't want to rely on all of these supplements. So I narrowed it down to these. Another great supplement, which I really support, is zinc. Now, zinc you can get in meat, regular grass-fed meat, oysters, high in zinc, because zinc will elevate your testosterone and help produce testosterone. Here's another one, pumpkin seeds. You don't know how much zinc is in pumpkin seeds. I eat pumpkin seeds every day. I put pumpkin seeds in my protein shake. So these are the items to increase testosterone naturally. Like I use food to benefit me. Food. Now, the number one supplement are two things. Vitamin D or natural sunlight will increase testosterone by 37%. Natural sunlight. If you don't get natural sunlight, I recommend taking 5,000 IUs or 10,000 IUs a day, 5 days a week, 2 days off. So this is how I went from 81 to 700. These are my steps. I wrote about it in the book. Whether people buy the book or not, you probably don't have to buy the book now because I'm giving you all the information. And you know what? I'm honored to give you the information.
Love it. Let's talk about food. Let's go over some of the things that you eat on a daily basis that you recommend everybody eat.
Okay, so foods, obviously, you got to have natural fats, healthy fats. So, what are natural healthy fats? Avocado, olive oil. I'll get to the olive oil, but I'm going to mention olive oil, omega 3, Brazilian nuts. I mentioned pumpkin seeds, wild caught salmon only. Please do not buy farm raised salmon. It's toxic. They eat each other's poo. You don't want to eat that. So I recommend wild caught salmon only. High in omega 3, high in protein, great to increase testosterone. So grass fed meat, you want to buy steaks, make sure it's grass fed. It's got such good supplements in it. It's all natural. I eat a steak once a week. I eat maybe some ground meat once a week. And the rest of the week, I'm eating fish, which is wild caught salmon, by the way. So, yeah, those are the foods that I strongly recommend. Oysters, I eat oysters every week. High in zinc, high in protein, very healthy for you. So, yeah, so that's part of the supplements. I have protein shakes every day. My protein shake, actually, I'm going to do a video on it. In my protein shake, there's olive oil, and I'm going to get to the olive oil in a second because there's something important that I need to tell you about olive oil. In my protein shake, there's olive oil, there's Brazilian nuts, there's cashews, macadamia nuts, pumpkin seeds, strawberries, banana, and blueberry. I get all my fiber, all my protein, I get all my zinc, all in one shake. So I make a shake, right? That lasts about 4 days. I have big jars, so I make a shake. I put them in the jars 4 days, and that's what I have. And then I make a fresh batch after the fourth day. And I don't have no dairy in my body. I don't consume dairy. Dairy is not good for you. Milk is for babies. Milk is not for adults. You need to know that. People say, oh, I got to drink milk. I need calcium. Wrong. You're only creating inflammation. So milk is a no. So I have coconut milk, not dairy. So half of the blender is coconut milk, the rest is water, and all my ingredients that I just shared with you, which I'm going to make a video and put it on YouTube. Yeah. So about the olive oil now. When you go to a supermarket, when you buy olive oil, turn it around, look at the back label. If olive oil, if you start reading, oh, look, Greece, Italy, Mexico, Morocco, if it comes from 5 or 3 different countries on the back label, please put the olive oil back on the shelf. You're not buying real olive oil, my friend. When you look at the back label, it's got to come from one country. When you see Italy, only Italy, you're buying the real deal. I buy olive oil from 3 countries. Greece, Italy, and Morocco. That's the olive oil that we have. One country. Now you're buying the real stuff, okay? Now, see, I have a glass here. You see this glass? I'll take 2 tablespoons of olive oil, put it in the glass, mix it, and I drink it 4 days a week. You know why? That'll increase my testosterone by 17.4%. And those are little things that I do to stay in the shape that I'm in.
No, I love it. There's so much knowledge here, so many things, especially people who want to buy your book and read it. Hernia without surgery, natural testosterone after 60, and belonging to yourself.
Thank you.
It has been such a pleasure having you on the show. It's because very rarely do we come across people who have gone through a tough life and have come out on the other way, not only being successful themselves, but also becoming an example for others to follow. Your life is a testament to hardships that could have broken you and could have taken you to perhaps similar coffin that your friend was. But the fact that you took your entire life in your own hands, turned it around, got a job, built a business, and are now living a healthy life past 65. You are a hero and an inspiration for all of us. Christopher, thank you so much for being on the show. It was a pleasure.
Thank you so much for having me. I really appreciate you.
Thank you.